Hello, my name's Richard Lawrence from the UK Met Office, and I'm talking to you today about our HPC and what we've been doing recently with procuring our next generation of supercomputers. So a little bit about the Met Office. So we're the UK's National Meteorological Service, and what that means is we produce the UK's weather forecasts. We collect observations from all around the UK and the world, feed those into our supercomputer, run a model that spits out a variety of different weather forecasts for a variety of different customers and needs, whether that's for aviation or defense uses, to the general public who just want to know when's the best day of the week to hang out their washing, through to civil contingencies and emergency responders. We produce weather forecasts that could be just for the next hour or could be going out for 5, 10, 15, or a month in advance. As well as producing weather forecasts, we're also a climate service as well. So we produce climate predictions, and those can be, again, from a sort of decadal timescale through to 100 years out in the future. And those we feed those predictions through into government and commercial companies, so they can help prepare for how the world is going to change in the coming years. This is our current supercomputer. It's about 7 petaflops in capacity. It's the research one, so it's one of 3 supercomputers that we have, and this one's dedicated purely to just our research workloads. So we don't run any weather forecasts on this one at all. It's purely either weather research or climate research that happens on this machine. But what I really wanted to highlight with this slide is that a supercomputer is at the core of our business, but we don't consider ourselves a HPC center. We're not a weather forecast. We're a weather forecaster, but we don't do research into supercomputing just for supercomputing's sake. All we use supercomputers for is a tool to help us improve our weather forecasting and our climate research. In order to do that, we run our weather models, and the way we run our weather models is to take the globe and split it into grid chunks all the way around the world. And we have different grid sizes for different parts of the UK and the world that we want to focus on. So we have a grid that just focuses around the UK and is 1.5 kilometers in size. We have another grid that is 4 kilometers in size that covers the whole of Europe. And then we have another grid that covers the whole of the globe, and that's 10 kilometers in resolution. We then produce our model not just for the ground, but we produce it up to 70 levels up into the atmosphere. And we produce different ranges of forecast as well. So it could be just a 12-hour forecast or a 54-hour forecast that we're doing. And we do those at different times throughout the day to get a spread of the different conditions that are happening. And these all run intermixed on our supercomputers. And when we're not using the supercomputers fully for our operational weather forecasts, we intersperse the supercomputers with weather research. So our computers are fairly well utilized. They sit at least 80% to 90% utilization, and the majority of it's either these operational weather forecasts or climate research that's happening on these machines. So what the focus of what I want to talk to you today about is our next generation of supercomputing and what we're looking to do as we move from our 3 current Cray systems into what we're going to be utilizing for the next decade and beyond. We realized we had to do something slightly different with our next procurement. I'll give you some details of that and why we approached it in a different way. But this was a big investment for us, a step change in our national capability. And as that, it's been the main focus of a lot of people in the Met Office for the past couple of years. And so what were some of the core elements of this supercomputing procurement? So one of the things we looked at is buying supercomputers is really expensive, and it takes a really long time to do it. It takes us on average about 2 years to procure a new supercomputer, and then another year to bring it into operations. So that's a lot of time from a lot of people that we do with each procurement, and that's really expensive, and we don't see it as particularly good value for us. So we wanted to see if we could change our approach to allow us to spend less time buying supercomputers and spend more time in utilizing them and planning for what we're going to be doing next on them. And so we went out to market looking for a 10-year supercomputing deal. And we did that by looking at getting 2 generations of supercomputer within one deal. So we're looking to have one computer, our next generation of supercomputer, that's going to last us from 2022 to 2027. And we're looking for that to deliver us a 6 times increase in supercomputing capacity. And we measure that not through petaflops, but through our weather forecast workloads. We set those as benchmarks in the procurement that we expect people to deliver us a 6 times volume increase in what we're going to be able to produce on our next generation of supercomputer. We then asked for a second generation of supercomputer as well. So that's from 2027 to 2032. And we're expecting that generation to deliver us approximately 18 times the capacity of what we currently have now. So that's a 3-fold increase from what we'll have from the first generation. And we expect that to do as well into 2032. This is all going to be provided through one supplier. So we're one supplier through the whole of the 10 years. And we wanted to ask them to provide it to us as a service. So we're going out for HPC as a service. And we want it to be a completely managed service as well. So they'll be providing us a supercomputer, all of the power for the supercomputer, the hosting for the supercomputer, and everything that's supporting us in making use of that supercomputer as well. We're expecting the supercomputer to be based within the UK. We have to base our operational weather forecasts within the UK, so it has to be hosted within the UK. But this time around, we relaxed our requirements about requiring the research capability. So that didn't have to be solely located within the UK. And that's about 50% of our overall capability. The reason why we did this is because it potentially offered us some benefits in having access to a greater number of partners and suppliers. It also allowed some more flexibility around renewable energy sources for powering the supercomputer, and it opened us up to some more innovative ways of working. It also came with a number of disadvantages as well. One was that the capability wouldn't be within the UK sovereign waters, and it potentially added increased network latency to us being able to communicate to the supercomputer and with other parts that had to be located within the UK. So we balanced that out, and we left it up to the market to decide how they felt they were going to deliver the 50% of capacity that didn't have to be located within the UK. Another part that we felt extremely strongly about was being a force for good with this supercomputing procurement. So as part of procurement regulations within the UK, you have to have a certain amount of social value delivered by your major procurements. And we focused in on 2 areas that we wanted social value to be brought to the UK through this procurement. The first one was through environmental responsibility, and that could be done through increasing the amount of renewable and green energy sources that we're helping to to supply this supercomputer, as well as doing other environmentally responsible parts to do with the hosting and other capabilities we're procuring within this contract. The other bit was around skills and training within the local area to where either the supercomputers are hosted or to where the Met Office is located within the UK. And that's skills and training that doesn't necessarily have to be focused in on the Met Office itself, but within bringing benefit to the wider UK. So we went out to government with this as a proposal, and we went with a business case in 2019 and 2020 that was approved for a £1.2 billion investment in our supercomputing capability, and that was for a 10-year investment, and that's a large investment, certainly the largest investment the Met Office has ever dealt with. And the reason why we were successful in going out to government and getting them to invest this amount is because we spent a large amount of time articulating the benefits, not just to the Met Office, but to the wider UK, that they would get from this supercomputing investment. We managed to show a return of £13.7 billion to the UK economy over the period of the investment, directly tied into this supercomputing investment. And the UK government saw that as a very good return on the investment, and so asked us to go out to market and procure this supercomputer. So we're not just purchasing a supercomputer. We are increasing our supercomputing capacity, and that's vital to allowing us to improve the resolutions of our weather forecasts and increase our climate science prediction capacity. We're also purchasing a next generation active archive. We save and store all of the data that comes out of the supercomputer to allow us to re-examine it and do further improvements to the trials and weather forecasts that we're producing. We currently generate about 200 terabytes of data a day from the supercomputer, and we see that increasing by approximately 5 times in the first generation of our next supercomputer capacity, and then by about 2.5 times in the second generation. So that's a huge amount of data that we're going to be generating on a daily basis. And we're going to have an active archive platform that's going to support us in storing and serving that data to the supercomputer and our other facilities. We're also going to be expanding some other HPC platforms that we have that don't rely on multi-node jobs. So they're really for single node jobs, but they are true HPC clusters. They're just slightly smaller in size. And we're looking for a more flexible compute environment this time around for those HPC clusters. And as I've already mentioned, we're going to be refreshing our technology about halfway through this procurement. So we've built into the procurement a mechanism to allow us to analyze what's available within the market and make sure that the refresh we get halfway through allows us to meet our performance goals and is proving to be good value for money for UK PLC. So some of the benefits that we helped articulate as part of our business case for procuring this supercomputer was that by going out and having a supercomputer capability that was delivered in new data centers, we were going to be able to achieve a greater level of operational resilience by increasing the geographical separation between our supercomputer instances and relying on people whose focus is to provide data centers of this size and scale. We're going to be able to provide increasingly detailed and accurate weather forecasts and climate predictions, whether that's increases in resolution, so going down to around 300 meters for our UK capacity, or whether that's going to be increasing the complexity and the chemistry involved in some of our climate predictions. We're hoping to make our data more readily accessible and be able to exploit it, both for our internal scientists and for the wider scientific community. And we see there being a greater opportunity for partnerships and collaboration, not just with the successful tenderer for the supercomputing procurement, but also for a wide range of other partners that we're looking to work with these new modeling capabilities. As we said, we felt this was going to require a new approach to our supercomputing procurements. So we went out for a fully managed service delivery model. This is a big step change for us. We've always had our supercomputers hosted in data centers in Exeter at the Met Office, and we've always managed the integration with all the other parts that they need to talk to. We've decided we want to focus on producing our weather forecasts and climate predictions and being one of the best in the world at doing those. It's not a core thing we want to focus on is hosting supercomputers. So we've decided to have our supercomputers provided to us in a fully managed service delivery model. We've gone out to procure this new supercomputer, and we've been successful in that procurement, and we have a new supercomputing partner, and you'll shortly be able to be told about who that is, but they're a world-class technology partner that operate on a global scale, and we're really excited to be working with them and the opportunities they're going to be bringing to us. One of the other advantages that we're going to be getting from this managed service is to be operate these supercomputers 24/7 around the clock, and have operations staff to help support and utilize those supercomputers even during non-normal working hours. So it's probably worth just highlighting the capacity we already have, in that we have 3 current Cray supercomputers, 2 operational supercomputers that essentially one is running a forecast at any one time, and if that develops a fault, we switch over to the second one, and those are the XE and XEF supercomputers that are around 3 petaflops in size, based on Haswell and Broadwell Intel chips, and they're both Cray XE systems. And then we've got the third one that I showed a picture of before that's around twice the size of those, that's purely used for research capacity. Going forwards, we're looking to change that over so that we split the supercomputing capacity into 4 supercomputers. So that would be A, B, C, and D. And the reason why we're looking to split that into 4 is to give us a bit more flexibility when we're wanting to patch supercomputers, and have more flexibility when one of them develops a fault and we need to switch operations to run in a different one of the supercomputers. They're each going to share some storage, so we're going to have shared research and small file systems between them, and they're going to have their they're going to be split between 2 data centers, so 2 supercomputers in each data center, and they're going to be physically distant between each ones. And then we're going to have our archive system and our other HPC clusters built around those 4 quadrants of supercomputer that we've specified. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today was the question I've had put to me around are HPC architectures moving in the right direction for meteorology? And there are 6 points that I wanted to bring out around this. And the first one is that there is no correct architecture for metrology and HPC architectures. Every model is different. Every model works in different ways and will have different benefits to different HPC architectures. The unified model, our model, will work very differently from the GFS models that are used in the States, or the model that's used by ECMWFs or other centers around the world. Some of those are very well suited to making use of GPUs. Some of them are very tailored into CPU-based architectures, and others are very suitable to a vector-based approach. There's no one-size-fits-all within the metrological market. It's also worth pointing out as well that weather is very different from climate. Weather tends to make use of more higher frequency CPUs and wants higher memory bandwidth, and is really running against a very tight operational clock. Whereas climate can use a wider variety of solutions, and it can be a little more relaxed in its wall clock time. One thing we can absolutely say is that we're definitely not interested in peak flops, and that's not been a useful measure for us. And one of the things we're not particularly talking about with our next generation of supercomputer is that the peak flops we're likely to be getting out of this system. It's just not proving to be a very useful measure for us anymore. What we are finding, though, is that we are able to make use of much higher memory bandwidth, and whenever we have access to that, it certainly is of use to our weather and climate codes. So we are seeing that as a very positive direction, that a lot of solutions now are making higher memory bandwidth solutions available to us, and we're starting to reap the benefits of that. But one thing that is absolutely true for the weather and climate market is that supercomputers are about turning a compute-bound problem into an I/O-bound problem. And it's all about the data for us. It's all about producing that data and then transporting that data to other systems, to our customers. So producing the weather forecast on our supercomputer is a small part of the overall chain. And really, we tend to find that actually specifying the storage that goes underneath the supercomputers is becoming much more of a focus for us now. The other thing to bear in mind with the metrological market is that it's quite a small percentage of the overall HPC market. And so we tend to have to live with what is available within the rest of the market. We don't have a huge influence on steering the market to what best meets the weather and climate community. But we're quite happy doing that. We don't want to be at the bleeding edge of technology. We're quite happy being one step behind at the cutting edge of supercomputer use. So hopefully that was of interest to you all today, and thank you very much for listening.